There's bacon. Canadian bacon. Mexican bacon. Oh.
Hi, this is Travis. Welcome to the Meat Block Podcast. This episode, David and myself are going to be talking about sodium nitrate versus natural cures such as celery juice powder, or better known as celery salt. And at the end, we give some recipes, how you could do a nitrate-free and use just salt, sugar to cure bellies and shoulders and things like that. And I'll be back at the end for some liner notes and tell you how to contact us and things about upcoming episodes and how we would like to hear from you, the listener. So please enjoy.
Good cutting enhances the quality of good meat. In his way, the meat cutter is an artist. Poor cutting results in an inferior piece of meat, regardless of quality.
Salting meat allowed for people to have meat throughout the year. That if you were to rub something in salt, dry it out, it would be food safe. They didn't really know about food safety. They just knew when something was mixed with salt that it would be safe to eat. And then people started using saltpeter that came from bogs to cure their meats to help them get through the winter and things of that nature. And notice that the saltpeter added brightness and changed the flavor a little bit. And that's when we start getting into the first forms of using naturally occurring sodium nitrate.
So I personally prefer bacon that does not have any nitrates or nitrites in any form whatsoever. For me, it's salt, brown sugar, black pepper. That's it. And there's no doubt that the bacon looks like fried zombie flesh when you cook it, though. It's gray, kind of purpley, not super exciting looking as compared to the deep red or deep pink bacon. So I'd like to hear what people's thoughts are on that, what the listeners' thoughts are. If anybody has any experience, especially in the retail world, of just a salt-cured pork belly and what customers have to say.
Yeah, I'll say that my personal experience is that I just know the science from marketing standpoint that pink and red invokes hunger and more of a lustful primal sensation. That's why bakery boxes are pink.
Really?
Yeah, to get that color is going to subconsciously make people be hungry. You know, that's why.
Okay, sure.
Like red apples or red strawberries are a very enticing food. And then that's why I think meat looks better in its raw form versus its cooked form. That's why you always want to see a little bit of pink in the middle. And those are my thoughts. And then the opposite of that is blue is one of the most uncommon colors in nature besides blueberries, that if you wanted to trick your mind into not being hungry or eat less, serve your food on a blue tray. But I guess it doesn't work if you know that.
So obviously salt curing predated refrigeration by quite a bit. So in the early 1900s, irregular curing was common. This led to further research surrounding the use of sodium nitrite as an additive in food, standardizing the amount present in foods to minimize the amount needed while maximizing its food additive role. Through this research, sodium nitrite has been found to inhibit the growth of disease-causing microorganisms. It also gives taste and color to the meat, and it inhibits lipid oxidation that leads to rancidity. The ability of sodium nitrite to address the above-mentioned causes has led to the production of meat with improved food safety, extended storage life, and improving desirable color and taste. Potassium nitrite is used in the same way. I think that's a lot less common, though. Do you work with any potassium nitrite? I do not.
Potassium nitrate is more of used as an accelerant. So if you wanted to do a short cured item, instead of you don't have a couple days, but you need to get cure coverage quickly, you would use that.
Okay.
Potassium nitrate would be the same as using rosemary extract
Really?
as an accelerant. Yeah, so what you just said talks about the flavor, and that's only about sodium nitrate. And a lot of people don't like having this, what they consider an unnatural curing agent in their food. So people are moving to what's called natural cured, where they're using celery salt or celery juice powder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have that. We're certified organic slaughterhouse and processing facility, and we use a ton of celery juice powder.
Yeah, so celery juice powder is regulated in Canada and parts of Europe just as strictly as sodium nitrate, and is considered a restricted ingredient, just like sodium nitrate pink salt is.
But not here, huh?
Not here. I don't know if it ever will be here, because people like to use that term naturally cured.
While editing this, I started thinking that the thing that is going to probably change the regulation is going to be exporting restrictions. If big companies are going to lose money because they don't meet the standards of other countries, then it will change.
So for those of us that don't know what we're talking about, a lot of the time in bacon or ham or any cured meat whatsoever, we're talking about using sodium nitrite, pink salt, curing salt, and those preserve the pink color and the flavor of these meats well after cooking or well after curing, and it makes them shelf stable for a super long time. Some people have that fear, and they've come up with what's called uncured bacon or uncured ham. And what's used in place of the pink salt or the curing salt is celery juice powder. But Travis, pound for pound, isn't that just as much nitrate or nitrite as the pink salt?
We actually don't know, because there's no government regulation on it.
Okay.
So like when I get something from butcher packer or a supplier that comes with a spec fact or a letter of guarantee that the amount of sodium nitrate pink salt that I'm going to use in a product, it is accounted for to the gram, where it is backed up by the manufacturer or the supplier, because of the strict regulations on it.
And what's the formula for pink salt?
Well, it is 93.75% sodium chloride and 6.25% sodium nitrate. And it's dyed pink. The pink salt manufacturer is only going to recommend that you use 0.25% of the pre-mixed pink salt to your recipe specifications. So of that 0.25% is 0.675% is actually sodium nitrate. So it's almost a fraction of a percent that you're going to be putting into your product. But you need to be careful, because only 4 grams of pure sodium nitrate can kill you.
4 grams of the nitrate itself, or the nitrite.
Now, to give that in perspective, you're going to have to end up ingesting, almost 400 grams of sodium nitrate. And at that point, or 400 grams of the pink salt mixture to achieve that 4% of sodium nitrate. And by that point, the salt would kill you.
Sure. Okay.
So, but like a lot of places who do charcuterie are going to get pure nitrate and mix it themselves.
Yeah, we've had that before in various shops where we've done the mix.
And a lot of times that's the exact same color as salt. It's just a white powder.
Yep.
And that
always is.
So 4 grams of that can kill you. Now, and if you were to lick your fingers while you're doing that, or, get something.
I've worked with some guys that lick their fingers while they're making sausage, for sure.
Yeah. That it could become dangerous at that point and make you sick. it is a restricted ingredient and should be. But as far as what it does to the body, we were talking off tape about, dealing with it in sheep and getting
basically a form of nitrogen poisoning. I've had it explained to me that if my soil is too hot with nitrogen and plants are taking up way too much and they're out foraging those plants, because of the mechanism that keeps meat pink, the nitrites bind where the oxygen would bind in cells, and it keeps that color. And in sheep, if they get nitrogen poisoning and they ingest too much nitrogen, this nitrate, or I think it's nitric oxide, binds to the cells instead of oxygen, and they basically, their gums will turn blue, and they'll start to suffocate from the inside out.
A lot of big fear that people have with sodium nitrate is nitrocetamine, which is the conversion during a cooking process that could turn it into a carcinogen and make it cancerous. That happens at a temperature of 439 degrees. So what's actually more of a risk than that, as much as I don't want to say my next line, is just using organic materials to cook that over.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's going to kill me.
Yeah.
If it's grilled salami, then I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, life is a carcinogen. So,
what do you think about the rumor that pink salt causes desensitivity in taste buds with people?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more that, like, if you ever go paleo or do an extreme diet, that it's not necessarily that it's not desensitizing. It's your taste buds are used to tasting a richer form of it.
Sure.
That, like, if you were to go sugar free, like 100% sugar free for a long time, or like for a week, and then you try.
That's a long time.
Yeah. And then you try something with sugar in it, it's going to be almost insanely sweet to you.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
And then as far as, pink salt as a flavor, I could certainly tell by taste when it's used. When it's not used, I could tell when celery salt is used versus sodium nitrate.
Well, pink salt has a certain umami flavor associated with it, I think. There's a certain richness. So if you're eating some, I guess for me, if you can really tell the flavor of your pork if you're not using the pink salt. If you cure some pork belly into some salt belly, and it's just really bland, run-of-the-mill corn-fed pork, it might be kind of disappointing, I think.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's more important for people to see their meat in its true uncured form? Adrian wants to know.
Do I personally feel?
I don't know. Yeah, each of us. What do you think?
I don't. I think that because of like my just beliefs that like the information is available, people just need to go and get it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I think people should be responsible for the things that they eat, but so many people aren't. I mean, I've definitely, I think about back when we worked in that place in Washington, and when I first tried, I was making some bacon for myself, and I was just taking a pork belly, did the salt, maple syrup, brown sugar, black pepper cure for that bacon. And I remember the boss man coming over and wondering, what the hell is that? Because it was super gray and kind of looked like the undead a little bit. And I think maybe if a lot of people complain about curing salt and they saw what their meat would look like without it, they might think otherwise.
My stance on them is curing agents allow everyone access to food.
Yeah, let me amend that.
Makes it shelf stable. If we didn't have sodium nitrates or curing agents, that we'd end up with a major problem on our hand.
I agree. I think when it comes to something like a brine shoulder or a loin or bacon, I do without curing salt. But if I'm going to do something like a long-term grind cure, like some sort of salami or maybe even a whole muscle cure, especially a longer term one, I'm probably going to use it.
Yeah. And to give you an idea is that when I make something with sodium nitrate, I'm giving it about a 5-week shelf life versus something with not, it only has a 3-week shelf life. Then when you start getting into semi-dried products where your available water's almost non-existent with the advent of sodium nitrate, you're looking at a 4-month shelf life or longer. And those shelf lives are dictated by growth modules in relationship with the USDA.
Travis, what do you think about the future of the culture of meat processing when it comes to traditionally cured or naturally cured?
Naturally cured versus traditionally cured are different things. They're not the same thing because naturally cured uses celery powder. I actually think that we're going to have to adapt as a country, and that's going to get changed as a restricted ingredient, not because of internal problems, but because of our export.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, what do I feel about, naturally cured versus sodium nitrate? It's, my opinion, the exact same thing. Naturally cured is not as regulated, which may mean it should be. Or even though, I don't want to say that, but the jury's still out on it. What do you think, David?
Working where I work, being a certified organic facility, I see a lot of people that they spring for the uncured. As a producer, a lot of time people want the buzzwords. They want the naturally cured. They want the uncured. They want to kind of market their product as being more wholesome, more natural, safer, more traditional. And I see that a lot in the organic industry. And I think it's all kind of a marketing ploy. I don't really think that there's any difference between the two. Aside from the fact that we don't have to have a log on our HACCP as far. I mean, I don't know about you if you guys have to carefully log your usage of the curing salts. We don't have to with the celery juice, and
yeah, we have to know how much we use to the gram.
Okay, and I'd say as a producer, as a meat producer, though, it's really difficult to not jump on that bandwagon. To be completely honest, it's right now it's a great marketing ploy. That being said, I think if you're a producer and you don't want to use either celery juice powder or a curing salt, you're probably going to have to do a lot of consumer education on your part in order to get your customers on board, because the flavor is going to be different. It's going to be less umami. It's going to taste just like the meat that you're using. And the appearance is going to be completely different. Bacon,
and your shelf life is going to be...
Yeah, you're dealing with frozen meat. You're not going to be able to... I know as a producer, if I do lamb belly bacon, I'm not going to be able to have that in my fresh cooler for 4 or 5 weeks. I know I've got a week with it. And that's a completely different marketing strategy. It works for me because I sell at the farmer's market. I sell out of my farm store and I sell to my CSA members. But if I was supplying to a grocery chain, it would not work for me whatsoever. And I really think it would be impossible to go on as a producer without those ingredients.
And as far as my company, where we supply to major grocery chains, and to lose 2 weeks of shelf life is crazy for us.
Non-negotiable. If you're gonna pick your battles, I really think that you're better off picking the battle, saying that you're gonna have pink bacon that tastes familiar. You're gonna win that argument 100 times over, as compared to the argument of why you don't have fresh meat, you only have frozen.
For farmsteaders or people who want to try this at home, what's a recipe you would recommend? Say I have a 10-pound pork belly. This is what you would recommend for people who want to avoid curing salt. If people who may be listening and be like, hey, I don't like what they're talking about, or I'm still on the or they agree with you and they want to be free of that.
Sure. And just as a note, any recipe I do, I think just as a very basic general rule of thumb, if I want to add something pink, like a curing salt, I just add 0.25% to my recipe, to my percentage recipe. 0.25% is what I use of the total meat weight. Yeah. So what I do is when I do a rub or a cure, not using a curing salt with nitrates involved, I just have a very simple formula, whether it's going to be a whole lamb leg or a mutton shoulder or a pork copa or a bacon. I take the total meat weight, and then 3.25% of that is salt. 2.5% of that is a source of sugar. And then whatever else is to taste, whether it's a pepper, an herb, but the salt and sugar, as long as I keep them in those percentages, 3.25% salt, 2.5% sugar. If I had a belly, I'd take that mixture and I'd rub it evenly over the entire thing and make sure to really pack it on so there's nothing left over. I put it inside a bag. Maybe you've got a food saver or some sort of vac packer, or even just some plastic wrap. And I like to seal that up for about a week in refrigeration. And then I take it out and I'll rinse it, wrap it in cheesecloth, and hang it for about 48 hours in a dry, cool place. And then it's ready to go from there. That being said, that's not for ready to eat items. That's for items that are going to be cooked, fried. That's for maybe anything that you're going to cook and put on something. Bacon you're going to fry up. Now, if I was going to do pancetta, I do the same ratios, but I'd let it hang for a lot longer and look for a moisture loss. The salt there in the recipe is going to drain the moisture from the cells to create that inhospitable environment for pathogens, and then hanging it in a refrigerated or at least dark and cool area, maybe around 60 degrees, 65 degrees, is going to allow for further moisture loss and inhibits the proliferation of pathogenic bacteria. Generally, when I'm hanging something up after it's been cured, rinsed, dried, and wrapped in cheesecloth, I'm looking for about a 35% moisture loss. Unless it's something like guanciale that's mostly fat, and then I'm not really looking for anything specific with the moisture, just kind of looking for a firm feeling.
And I just want to say, if you don't have something around 60 degrees, most sellers are, and you need to hang it in refrigeration, it's going to take a little bit longer to achieve that desired weight loss. And then another thing that, like the nuance is that if you end up with a quick moisture loss, that it could be the outside of your product could dry quicker than locking in the inner moisture is a issue I've come across with when hanging somewhat coarse dried products like salami.
Yeah, and then you've got a really gnarly bacterial or mold outbreak that and your nose will tell you. If you're doing a home cure without a pink salt of some sort, your nose will tell you. If it smells awful, then there's something seriously wrong.
The truth comes out as the fire burns low. It comes to light as only embers glow. The whiskey talks, the west wind moans in the night.
All right, that was sodium nitrate versus naturally cured in quotation marks. Hope you enjoyed it. Please tell a friend. If you haven't already, please go to iTunes, like and subscribe. It really helps us. It helps get us more listeners. We are also available on Google Play and Stitcher. If you want to contact us, you could Twitter at themeatblockpod, Instagram at themeatblock, or you could email us themeatblockpodcast at Gmail. You can find me on Twitter at USA Butcher. Find me on Instagram at American Butcher. And you can find David on Instagram at A Farm Butcher. Grilling season's almost here. We want to hear what you have on the grill or the smoker or the barbecue or whatever outside cooking method or technique you are doing. So please contact us. And we also want to start doing a little vignettes featuring butchers doing unique things, either with recipes or breakdown or marketing. So you could email us, you could record something and send it to us if it's under 3 minutes, or hit us up on Instagram or any of the previous platforms mentioned. And again, please tell a friend. And our outro music is the song The Truth Comes Out, and our intro was Union Pacific, Ring the Bell, and the Yin Yang Twins. I also want to thank Dead Cattle Association for the sweet swag. Check them out on Instagram. And that's the show.
Only old chiefs older than Jesus can save us now. For lucky, a white man light a big fire, stay cold. A red man's warmer, but the old man's old. The antelope seeks the buffalo in the night. Yeah, the antelope mourns the buffalo in the night. Look at the bear when you're fishing on Lee's Creek. They'll come round the bend and they'll make your knees weak. There's grizzlies where there was no grizzly bears before. The truth comes out as the fire burns low. It comes to light as only embers glow. The antelope mourns the buffalo in the night.